Okay, so this is more or less what we're planning to do as far as teaching you physics. Now, in the old days, there was this guy called Socrates, and he had a disciple called Plato. Have you guys heard of them? Okay, they're Greek philosophers, lived 300 BC. Now, philosophy in those days was like science. They couldn't really do experiments, so they thought about it. They thought, well, if things fall down, there must be something for causing them to fall down. So science was very limited there. But there's a point I want to make, and that Socrates used to get into these long, involved arguments. And Plato wrote them all down. Now, do you think Plato sat there with his, whatever they had, his stylus, and wrote down what Socrates says for each step of the argument? What do you think? What do you think Plato used to record Socrates? Do you think he used anything?
He uses brains.
That thing they call memory. And also in Christ taught. Do you think Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were sitting there taking down the Gospels? No. They just sat there and they listened. And then about who knows how many years later, Matthew decided to write a Gospel, and Mark. And there you get them. So they used their memories. They remembered things. You see, it's a very human thing. It's almost like the thing that differentiates us from other animals. Is we remember things, but animals do too, and then we can record them. So I'm trying to say we must put an emphasis on memory. Are you happy about that? No, not that we're going to neglect writing and recording, but the thing that I don't want you to do is just sit here, come in, take a note, bypasses your brain, and then June we'll look up the note again, swap for the exam, all in short-term memory, pass the exam, forget about it. What we really want is everything that I say to you in this lesson, I want you to remember. Right? Maybe you're not quite used to it, but you will get so jolly good at it that, so I'm going to not give you notes. I'm going to tell you about it. Then you're going to give a note. Then you're going to check your note. Then you're going to add whatever you missed. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do a past question. So I've got a past question here for you. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. You will get all the principles involved. You'll write them down. And then you'll go and you'll do the question. If you can't do the question, my terrible. Not my bad, my terrible. Because then, if all of you can't do it, I've left something out. But the idea is, I won't leave anything out. You'll be able to do it perfectly. So what do we want? 100% for the questions. I'm so glad she's nodding. There's one person who wants that 100%. Are you guys with us? We can't aim for 40%. Madupi and all these power stations, they've made them, but they don't work because there's a design error. There was like 95% was fine, but the 5% is what screws us. Do you see the point? We hit the moon or we miss and go out into space. So we've got to aim for that 100% when we do these little questions that we give you. Everyone happy about that so far? Set a high standard. Now, also, what do you think is better? In the final exam, you're going to be doing it by yourself. What do you think is better, to do it by yourself now or with somebody? I might not be logical. What's your logical conclusion? Should you work together or should you do it by yourself once we've told you how to do it? At least give it a go by yourself. Okay? Another skill which matriculants sometimes have is the skill to get down to work quickly. You know, if 2 minutes have gone by and you've done nothing, it's a waste of time. You see, so if 2 minutes have gone by and there's nothing, it's blank, there's a problem, Houston. Do you agree? So you must be able to get down to it quickly, think about it. Now, a very important part of that question is the very first, before you write your first dot, is you've got to think out how this question can be answered. That we cannot spoon feed you. And, because most students like to say, so I think we use the principle of conservation of momentum. And you say, yes, you do. Okay, great, so we're going to use the principle of conservation. It's better if you know you're going to use the principle of conservation of momentum and get straight to it. And then if you're totally stuck, then ask. Happy with that? So if you have to ask, we're going to put a little white flag there on your sheet. That's the flag of surrender. We don't want to see that surrender flag, because that means we had to ask for help. That means in the exam you may have a problem. We don't want to see those surrender flags. We want you to get there, do it all, no surrender flag. Then if it's 100% correct, no surrender flags anywhere. I know you can do that problem 100%. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then if you want to remember it, I'm not going to let you forget it. Tomorrow I'm going to ask you, how did we do that same problem? And the next day, and the next for a week. And then each week for a month, and each month for a year, till I know that it's not in short-term memory, it's long-term. So that if you have a crisis just before the June exam, it doesn't depend upon not having a crisis. You must be able to do the exam without studying. Okay, I want you to study, but I want you to be able to do it anytime. Wake up, 12 o'clock, midnight. Got an exam for you? Oh, no problem. All happy? So I'm asking quite a lot of you, am I not? And then, of all the questions we could ask you, which do you think are the best ones? Which questions do you think I should give you examples to work through?
What do you mean?
Should I ask you textbook questions? Should I ask you 12 years ago questions? Or should I ask you last year's questions, June and September? Or does it make no difference? Does the department maybe have, or should I just take any old question, textbook and their questions? Which questions would you say are the most important to you? The past and the closest past exams, because once you've done, say, momentum, there's about 4 questions. You've done them all. And they will just make sure that the questions come from past exam questions. So we try to do last year's questions, or last year's November, or last year's September, June maybe, and then 2017. And we make sure we cover each of the questions, that the 4 possibilities that they're going to be in, say, momentum. Now, how do you guys like that so far? Because I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Can we just say, will you give it a try? If you're getting 100% and you, in a week time, you still remember it, can we say the system is working? And if it doesn't work and you can't do it and there's something I haven't anticipated, we'll just say, let's try something different. We'll go back to the old way of doing it. All happy? We give it a try. We're scientists. We experiment. We try something. Okay. And then one last thing I want to just say to you on the score is, because I am focused on you remembering the stuff, we're going to use tricks to help our memory. Now, one of those tricks is we act it out. So if we're doing momentum, we act out. Here's a mass. It's moving this way. It's a vector quantity. Okay. So we must choose a direction as positive. Let's make this mass moving this way positive. There's the up, there's the sideways. Happy with that? Here's a mass. It's got momentum because it's a mass. It's got velocity, v, mass times velocity equals momentum, small p. So you're going to act it out. Now, why is acting it out good? Your brain loves anything silly. And your brain likes anything you've got to actively do. So give it a try. If you act it out, let's see if you actually remember it better. Happy with that? So we've got a system whereby we're going to act out everything to do with what we do, just to help us remember it. So are we ready to give it a go with momentum? Okay, are we all ready? Are we ready to be silly and act it out? Okay. And you're going to learn a whole sign language, but it's so easy. Okay.